So this is a map of Tiger Mountain State Forest. Up at the northwest corner we have the Tiger Mountain Natural Resources Conservation Area. This area is off limits to logging. The forests that we're really focused on protecting are on the southeast side of Tiger Mountain. All of Tiger Mountain State Forest was logged at some point. Some parts of it have been logged twice. A lot of that logging has taken place recently within the last 10, 20, 30 years. But there are patches of forest on Tiger Mountain that are much older than that. And if we turn on our satellite data, we can see where those are. The largest and oldest trees on Tiger Mountain are located in the dark red areas. Some of the trees in these areas are well over 100 years old. The green areas are younger, mostly between 60 to 80 years old. And then the yellow areas represent the youngest forests, most of which have been clear-cut within the last 40 years. Most of these forests were likely sprayed with herbicides and planted with commercially desirable species and are now managed as tree plantations. It's really the dark red areas that we're focused on. There's a timber sale proposed in one of these areas that was scheduled to be auctioned off this month, but some of the local landowners protested the sale, and so it's been delayed, apparently. Walking into one of these forests really is like walking into a museum. There just aren't many forests like this left outside of the national parks. This is not a tree plantation. This stand was allowed to grow back on its own after it was logged in the early part of the 20th century. Generally, they just took the largest cedar and fir trees and left everything else behind. There were no herbicides, there were no commercial hybrid tree seedlings planted, so what you see now isn't much different from what was there 200-300 years ago. The largest trees are gone, but because they left a lot of smaller trees behind, those trees have grown much larger than anything you would see in regeneration clear-cut. The other thing you see in these forests are these old legacy trees, these large, hollowed out, standing dead trees that are left over from the original forest. These provide great habitat for all kinds of birds and small mammals. Starting around maybe 1950 or so, they began removing all of these old snags from these stands that they were logging. Back when they last cut this stand, all they had were hand saws. There were no chainsaws. And there was no reason to go to all the trouble of removing these standing dead trees. Now when they go in and log one of these forests, they leave very little behind. They clear out all or most of the trees, young and old, along with most of the dead wood that's lying on the forest floor. Any wood that's left tends to dry out because there's nothing to shade it from the sun. And then they'll spray the land with herbicides to kill off anything that might compete with the new plantation seedlings. And once you do all of that, it really fundamentally changes the forest.